Okay, guys, today we are going to discuss the issue of economic sectors. We have different economic sectors on geography, so hence the topic is economic geography of South Africa. Here we are going to talk about uh, the sectors on their different ways and how they contribute to the economy and how do they differ, what makes them actually differ. We have four different economic sectors, which the first one is the primary sector. The primary sector is actually the economic sector actually which deals with farming, the the plantation of crops. I can talk about maize. I can talk about sugar cane. Mention things like fruits. Fruits as well are another example of the primary sector on the farming side. And then we have mining again is another example of the primary sector. Hence the gold, because gold is actually gold, diamonds, or whatever mineral that we can mention is being discovered, is being found. When it's actually found, it's found on its natural stage, meaning that mineral, it hasn't been processed or touched by that time. So hence we are saying it is the primary sector. Another example of primary sector is fishing. Fishing again is an example of a primary sector, because on the process of fishing, fishes are being found where on water. So I usually make an example, or usually say you can make you can remember that for you to be easy to remember what is the primary sector. Primary sector is actually an things that are being found on their origin. They are being found where they are. They haven't been processed or transported somewhere to be washed, or maybe to be checked, maybe whether they are healthy or what. They are still fresh. They are still new. They haven't been checked. They haven't been processed. Then we have the secondary sector on our second spot. The secondary sector is actually working hand in hand with the primary sector, because usually the things that we find in the secondary sector are things that were discovered on the primary sector. How so? This is how it happens. On the secondary sector, it is the process whereby goods or minerals are being processed, meaning we find these goods or minerals where on the primary sector. When we take sugar cane and turn it into sugar, we have to take that sugar cane into the industry. That industry is supposed to do what? To work with the sugar cane so that we will produce sugar. Fish is again, we can make an example with pilchards. For us to have pilchards, what we do, we actually have to go fishing. We actually have to be to have connection with people who are dealing with fishing. Those people are going to supply us on the secondary industry with fish, if that's what we are looking for. Mining again, before we can say we have bracelets or maybe we have watches, the gold, we cannot just take that stone or whatsoever and wear it on our wrist or on our neck. We actually have to first take those raw materials into the industry. That industry is actually an example of the secondary sector. So the secondary sector is dealing with the processing of the raw materials, the processing of whatever that has been found on the primary sector. Another example is wheat. We can plant wheat, but you cannot have bread without wheat being turned into flour. So for wheat to be turned into flour, that wheat has to be processed before we can have flour. Then that flour again, it is still processing. We have to take that flour and process it again for us to have what? A bread. So we can say the processing of wheat and the creation of bread is falling are falling on the secondary sector. And then we move on to the tertiary sector now. The tertiary sector is the sector that deals with the service delivery or the deliverance of services. Here we can mention healthcare. Healthcare is an example of a tertiary sector. The service is being delivered. For an example, the creation or the building of clinics is an example of the tertiary sector. The healthcare um, is being provided. So actually, the tertiary sector is the provision of services, the deliverance of services, where services are being delivered to people. Education is another example. When they are building schools, that's an example of the tertiary sector. When we have things like water supply, water being supplied straight into our homes, not walking any distance to fetch water. That's an example again of the tertiary activity or tertiary sector. We can also look at electric supply. Electric supply is another great example of tertiary sector. Reason being, or we are being supplied with electric. Electric is helping us with what? With light. Safety is being provided. Another thing, the cooking becomes more easier because now we have we have electric. We have electric in our houses, which means we have power. There is no need to go outside to look for wood for you to make fire, then you can cook. Remember, we have old people who need to be doing things easy, who do not have that much energy to go and fetch woods, then they come back again. So the deliverance of electric supply, the deliverance of water supply is the most important. So it is important to know that a tertiary sector is one of the most important things again. Not forgetting that a primary sector and secondary sector are also important. Looking at now bringing the three together, looking at them, uh, looking at looking at what? Oh. Looking at food security, we will have a proper food security if we take all these things together, because if they can work hand in hand, they provide us with a greater food security and the safety. Now, going forward, we're going to the fourth one now, which is the quaternary sector. Quaternary sector, it is more of about internet and technology. Mm, the most best examples of a quaternary sector is banking. It's a quaternary sector. Remember, technology takes place because on a quaternary sector, it is where we find ourselves having things like banks. Banks are actually helping us with what? With getting money. So technology is taking place by doing what? Using banks to circulate the money. The money circulates through technology. The money circulates through banking. And then we have our internet as another example of the quaternary sector. Technology provides us with information, a lot of information. It is the power of quaternary sector. So it is important to know that quaternary sector might seem not that important or not as a need, but it is important so that we will know that what is happening globally or on the globe on our daily basis. Then we have another thing on the quaternary sector, which is broadcasting services. Broadcasting services can be news, it can be TV programs or shows that we watch on our daily basis. Those shows also play an important role on providing us with information, news as well. Helps us to know what's actually happening in the world as we are living.